Hi, I'm the Guitar Trooper, YouTube's favorite old guy. It's December 12th, 1964, Phil Spector residence, Los Angeles, California, 11 a.m. Since the middle of October, veteran producer Phil Spector hadn't slept well, if at all. This week, his condition had worsened, including symptoms of an ulcer. His professional career was hanging on the fate of a new recording. Following auditions of that recording came a wave of criticisms and suggestions for improvement from his friends and business associates, and performer Bill Medley said the song was too long, too slow, and released by an American duo right in the middle of the Beatles and the British invasion. Besides the critics, Spector had a more basic concern. This is the first time that he had produced a single without it having a hard-driving backbeat. He was deeply concerned that his auditory concept for this song would not be understood or accepted. Ultimately, he was terrified that the song wouldn't sell. The recording was massively expensive, at a final studio and personnel production cost of around $35,000, which in 2024 would have been over $347,000, and utilizing multiple layered overdubs of instruments and vocals on somewhat basic 3-track equipment, the 3-minute 50-second single had taken over 39 takes on the background tracks alone, and around 8 hours of studio time over a period of 2 days to complete. No wonder he had lost many hours of sleep. He looks at the weekly Billboard Hot 100 chart and finds the song posted at a lackluster number 77. In reality, this in of itself isn't a harbinger of doom, as a majority of very successful songs do not enter the chart and even the top 40 on their first week. But that didn't matter to Phil. He was expecting a disaster, and to him, number 77 was just the beginning. Phil Spector was right about one thing. It was indeed just the beginning, because that song that would begin a climb week after week and land on top of the chart in February '65 was to ignite and transform the career of the Righteous Brothers, and later would be hailed as Phil Spector's masterwork execution of his wall of sound concept. It's August 19th, 1964, Cow Palace Arena, San Francisco, California, the Beatles concert tour. Among the opening acts are a vocal duo named the Righteous Brothers. A band accompanies the duo for their set, and tonight it's being conducted by Phil Spector, a musical and business prodigy and self-made success story of the record industry. He likes the duo's powerful vocal arrangements. Bill Medley has a gravelly, powerful voice that is contrasted and complemented by Bobby Hartfield's tenor. Spector likes them a lot. In fact, he likes them enough to offer them a recording contract on his own label, Phil Les Records. Up to this point, Phil Les Records has been exclusively the domain of black artists, and Phil wants the Righteous Brothers to join the label and be the first Blue-Eyed Soul act. They eagerly accept the offer. Bill and Bobby had been singing as a duo act since 1963, although they had performed together in a short-lived group called the Paramours during 1962. They adopted the name of the Righteous Brothers based upon comments such as, "That was Righteous, brothers," that they had received after a performance at the El Toro Marine Base. The guys had a recording contract with Moonglow Records during 1963 and had released a dozen singles, but only 2 of them had any charting success, and they didn't break the top 40 at that. This experience left them ready to find a new label. Spector arranges a deal with Moonglow to allow release of new recordings on his Phil S label and buys out the remainder of the Moonglow contract. Seeking fresh material for the new artists, he commissions the hit-writing couple Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil to compose a song specifically for the guys. Spector flies the couple from New York, where they had an office in the Brill Building, to Los Angeles and puts them up at the Chateau Marmont Hotel on Sunset Boulevard. Barry creates a melody first, intending for it to be a ballad, and then sets about writing the lyrics. A line comes to him as he thinks of a line from his own recent hit recorded by the Paris sisters, "I Love How You Love Me."
I love how your eyes close whenever you kiss me.
He writes, "You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips." Once they have that opening line, the couple quickly composes 2 verses and a chorus with a conceptual dummy line, "You've lost that lovin' feeling." They intend to replace that later with a different line, but as it turns out, that change never happens. They play the draft song over the phone for Phil. When he reviews the lyrics, he likes the stand-in line and wants to keep it. He also adds a tagline on the end of the chorus, "Now is gone, 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 whoa, whoa, whoa." Barry isn't enamored with the tagline, but keeps it in anyway at Phil's insistence. The bridge becomes the next issue, and they ask Phil for some ideas. He noodles for a while on the piano and comes up with a chord sequence borrowed from Hang On Sloopy. The only difference being, he plays it in a different key. And the lyrics fall into place. The upbeat song in the key of F is complete. They present the composition to Bill and Bobby, with Man and Spector singing it. At first, the Righteous Brothers just look at each other and frown. It sounds like a great song for the Everly Brothers, they say, but they think it's wrong for them. It's just the wrong sound. Phil convinces them that he can make it work for them, and they agree to record the song. September 26, 1964, Gold Star Studios, Hollywood, California, Studio A, 5:30 p.m. Equipment, a custom-built 12-channel mixer to an Ampex 300 series 3-track mastering recorder. Scheduled for tonight, instrumental background recording for You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling. Studio A is not large. It's only about 20 by 30 feet with an 11-foot ceiling, and 2 massive Altec A7 Voice of the Theater speakers occupy around 90 cubic feet of the limited space. The facility has no air conditioning, making sessions there somewhat uncomfortable, especially when Phil Spector is the producer, as he has a reputation for cramming many musicians into a small space. This session is no exception. The musicians are stacked in so tightly that it's difficult for anyone to move once they are in their place. Phil has the key lowered from F to C sharp to better suit Bill's range, and slows the tempo to assert more emotional energy. His recording sessions are never quick. Tape doesn't roll on a Phil Spector session until he has worked with the musicians on their parts and then audited and adjusted the sound himself, which could take hours. Only then a take is committed to tape, and there are typically many takes and extra overdubs. Spector always gets the backing track fully developed, adding layer upon layer of instrument tracks over reduction mixed layers before having the vocal tracks added, and has the final track mixed in mono to assure that the intended sound is intact. Also, due to the proximity of the instruments during the recording in the cramped space, there is already natural signal leakage between the microphones, causing an even deeper mix of the parts. Nevertheless, reverb and subtle echo is added to the entire mono backing track.
39.
All of this taken into account, it is, perhaps needless to say, a long evening. About 2 weeks later, in mid-October, Phil books the studio to do the vocals and the string overdubs. The Righteous Brothers are now in front of the microphones. Spector is as meticulous with these as he had been with the background recordings. The first issue to arise happens when he wants Bill to sing the verses as a solo, relegating Bobby mostly to a duet during the choruses, which is taken by Bobby as an affront because the pair had routinely sung together on all tracks. He asks Phil what he is supposed to do in a live performance while Bill is singing solo, and Spector thinks only a moment before saying, "You could go directly to the bank." Background vocals are supplied by the Ronettes and another girl group called the Blossoms, plus a young teenage singer named Cher. More subtle reverb is applied to the vocal overdub tracks. After a final mono mix on an Ampex 350 recorder at 15 inches per second, the song is ready for pressing and release. After hearing the final playback, Bill Medley was still dubious regarding the song's hit potential. Phil plays the final master over the phone for Barry Mann. Barry hardly recognizes his composition. He interrupts to ask Phil if the tape is being played at the correct speed. The tempo is very slow, the key is lower, and the lead vocal is in a low bass voice. You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin' was released in November 1964 and hit the Billboard Hot 100 chart on the week of December 12th, 1964 at number 77. By contemporary AM radio standards of 1964, it was too long at 3 minutes and 50 seconds, and there was concern that program directors would not put the song in rotation because of its length. Spector refused to compromise the production of the song by truncating its length, so he had the time deliberately misprinted on the label as 3:05 instead of 3:50. Problem solved. You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin' went from concept and composition during September 1964 to production, to release, and then to number one on the week of February 6, 1965 in a mere 5 months, and it launched the career of the Righteous Brothers as a blue-eyed soul act. Bill and Bobby continued performing as the Righteous Brothers, doing concerts through the early 2000s, being inducted by Billy Joel into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on March 10, 2003. Unfortunately, Bobby Hatfield died suddenly during their performance tour in November of 2003. Bill Medley, now 83 and 2024, lives in California. Phil Spector continued wielding his fanatical producing style for decades and for many top acts, including producing the Let It Be album for the Beatles in 1970 and George Harrison's All Things Must Pass album in late 1970. In 2003, he was accused of murdering actress Lana Clarkson. The 2007 trial ended without a verdict, but a retrial in 2008 found him guilty, and he was sentenced to 19 years to life in prison. Phil Spector died of complications from COVID on January 16th, 2021. The recording has been hailed as Phil Spector's masterpiece and one of the best, if not the very best recording in the history of the industry, holding the record for the most played song for 22 years until it was displaced by Every Breath You Take in 2019. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do me a favor and click on that thumbs up icon and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. You can also use the comments to suggest video subject matter regarding pop music and pop music culture between the 1950s and the 1970s. A great thing that you can also do to support the channel is just share the video with your friends. Click on the arrow icon and then pick the destination person and help us expand the audience. Speaking of supporting the channel, this would be a great time to subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. It's easy and it's free, and it lets YouTube know that you support the channel. Just click on the subscribe button and be sure to select the top notification bell on the drop down afterwards so that you will be notified whenever I put new content out for the public. If you would like the opportunity to see the content a few days earlier when it is viewable only to channel members, you can upgrade your subscription and become a channel member. Just click on the join icon and follow the instructions. It's not free to upgrade, but it's as cheap as YouTube would let me make it. Thanks again for watching.